Good afternoon, everybody. It's David Schlotthauer here with another detailed weather forecast. In today's video, we are watching for another couple of big snowstorms before Christmas time and in time for the first day of winter. But it's not just the winter storms that you're going to have to be concerned about. We are also watching the models closely for the end of next week where temperatures could be well below average again as we have another possible big Arctic outbreak. So with that being said, let's get started with the forecast here by looking at our latest European model. This is the 12Z run from earlier this morning, and we're going to be looking at the next 7 to 10 days because the weather pattern is certainly going to get pretty active, especially leading up to our first day of winter. So we're going to start off by looking at Friday afternoon here for the 13th of December, and we can see we have a big Arctic high pressure system over the Great Lakes. This is going to keep these areas much cooler than average, so expect some very cold overnight lows for the next few nights as this Arctic high moves overhead, and it also gets stronger. Pressure value is going to be coming up to about 1050 millibars. So with that, this is dense air, so it's going to want to kind of spread out wherever it's moving. So therefore, temperatures will be definitely below average. Now, on the contrary side of that, we have an area of low pressure that's going to develop over the high plains. This has been well modeled now over the last several days where we have a little bit of a weak disturbance that develops over the Oklahoma area in Kansas. And as we put this into motion, there is a risk that there will be some freezing rain with this. So if you're in Iowa City, if you're in, Des Moines, Iowa, just keep that in mind. There might be some slick roadways for your Saturday morning as there is going to be warmer air aloft. Okay, so how freezing rain works is you get the pressure pattern here is in such a way that there's actually northeasterly flow coming out of this surface high. And what ends up happening is you have colder air trapped at the surface. You get warmer air kind of scooting up and over that. And what ends up happening is snow melts to rain and then it refreezes once it hits that colder air at the surface, and then you end up with freezing rain. So keep that in mind for your Saturday morning. You might be treated to some very slick roadways. And then of course for the Pacific Northwest, don't want to forget about you over there. California, lots of heavy rainfall, some pretty intense winds this weekend, by the way. Some areas can have wind gusts between 40 to 60 miles an hour. Very heavy high elevation snow for, say, California, for Lake Tahoe area, for the Cascade Range. So a busy weekend ahead as far as the weather department goes with two systems to track. Now, by the time we go into Saturday night and then into Sunday morning, so for if you're going to church, just keep that in mind. Some wet roadways, not much in the way of freezing rain since there's a limited amount of cold air at the surface, but nonetheless, rain is going to be impactful to some of these wet roadways. And if you're doing any commuting, if you work on the weekend, just keep that in mind. Just allow some extra time to get outdoors because the rain's going to be coming down pretty good. And then for the Pacific Northwest, still dealing with that snow, that winter storm propagating into the Pacific Northwest from California. But that's going to change as we go into the middle of next week. You can see snow potential and some freezing rain potential for some of these valleys. In fact, if we do a quick zoom in, this time I'm hoping it actually works. Okay, it does work, and you can see some pink here indicating a little bit of freezing rain in those valleys. Cold air is dense. It doesn't want to move around very much, very easily, and so there is going to be some freezing rain in some of these valleys potentially for Sunday night into Monday morning. So also for your morning commute on Monday could be impacted. Then some snow over, say, if you're in Philadelphia to the northwest of that Allentown. If you're in, say, northern Pennsylvania, keep that in mind. A little bit of snow for your morning commute. It could make things interesting. And then zooming back out here for the entire United States, that's one system, and then followed by a more stronger system over Indiana, Ohio area. Maybe some, again, strong winds with that one. Yes, Ethan B., you definitely need some rain, and you're going to get at least enough to where it will stop the drought from getting worse temporarily, but it's probably going to come back in because once that flow changes out of the northwest, you're going to have limited moisture and more colder days ahead. some snow up here in Minnesota, and then of course another storm for California. So again, really active weather pattern setting up all the way through Monday and Tuesday, and then it all kind of transitions gradually over to the Midwest and the eastern portion of the U.S. by the time we go into the middle of next week. And you'll see that here as we go into Wednesday morning. Another system develops here, okay? The first system that you just saw had mainly rain. This is going to be a different story because there's more colder air coming out of the north. So yes, if you're in, say, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin for Wednesday next week, this is the 18th of December. You're going to maybe have some chances of snow here. This is in about 6 days. And then to the south of that, where you do have rainfall, because that's where the warmer air is going to be in place. Not much of a snow deal, say, south of, say, St. Louis, Missouri, but to the north of that, that's where you're going to have the snow chances over the Great Lakes. Now, it gets more interesting because there's been some talk on X. I'm not saying Twitter anymore because it's not Twitter, it's actually X. You know what I'm talking about, right? On social media, that there are going to be a couple of, or there could be, I want to rephrase that, there could be some impactful storms by the end of next week. All right, just in time for the first day of winter, which theoretically begins at around December 21st for the East Coast, and for the West Coast, it's going to be just after midnight, and then for Hawaii, it would be on the 20th because they're 3 hours behind us. But either way, there is going to be this storm that could develop by the middle of next week, by Thursday. So for your morning commute, we've been there and done that. Literally this just a couple of days ago, or basically yesterday morning, we had that big snowstorm in the Northeast. Well, a week later, what do you know? I guess weather likes to repeat itself again, right? Thursday again, next week, might have to watch this one again closely for more snowfall. Could be heavy at times. And then that moves out. It's a quickie. It's not going to stick around very long. Followed by maybe another system. Again, I'm going out to 10 days. I shouldn't really be doing this, but because of how active the weather pattern is, we're going to really need to watch this one. And this is through Saturday morning, December 21st. So on the first day of winter, it will feel like winter, or might feel like winter if you get the snow. I mean, Maryland, where my sister lives, if you're West Virginia, Northern Virginia there, it's going to be interesting. It really is. And then that moves out, and then things should maybe calm down. But that's pretty far down the road. Now, what does the GFS model show? Let's move this through pretty quickly. You can see the first system rolls through over the next 5 days. That's going to bring in more rainfall, not much in the way of freezing rain on that one. And then, of course, you can see the second system for Thursday next week. The GFS handles this a little differently, shows snowfall potentially as far south as, say, northern Alabama, northern Georgia. So just be aware of that. These models handle things differently. But what it really also does, big Arctic high up here in southern Canada, and that's the cold air that's going to be moving in. And I mean some serious cold air, coldest air of the winter season. Actually, it's not really winter theoretically here. It's the 19th of December. Sweet spot 21st is declared winter. And then by Thursday night into Friday, that could be a monster. That could be a really big system. Heavy snow, heavy rainfall for the Northeast. This is just beyond the 7-day forecast for early Friday next week. Not tomorrow Friday. Don't get confused. Tomorrow is the 13th on Friday. Friday the 13th. Oh, spooky, right? Next week. Next Friday, the 20th, is what, or the 21st. No, this is the 20th. Excuse me. See, just messed myself up here. Confused myself. 20th of next week, we'll have to watch that. Big Arctic high moving in. So yes, definitely going to be a different story. Now, snowfall totals. This is the preliminary output from the model. This is not the official forecast from the National Weather Service or anything. All right, so just be aware of that. This is through that first snowstorm or that second storm that has more colder air with it. So you might see anywhere between 3 to 6 inches of snowfall. This is really far out. This could trend stronger. It could trend weaker. So again, stay up to date here on the YouTube channel for more information on that upcoming pattern that could favor more bigger snowstorms. All right, okay, so that's that. So I guess I added an extra tab to my list here. So that's one storm. And then the second storm is more southerly, right? That's the one that people have been talking about on X as well. Maybe some snow there for Maryland, for portions of, say, if you're in New Jersey, downtown New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire. That's its second storm that could bring more significant snowfall totals on the order of, say, 4 to 8 inches. Maybe some areas here in Boston, Massachusetts, that could get maybe 9 or 10 inches of snow. But again, I want to emphasize 10 days out. So this is some distance away from the models. And there's a lot of changes. This could go stronger or weaker. Now, like what we have been dealing with just recently, the bigger story with these storms will be colder temperatures. Yes, the Arctic air mass is fully in place across Canada. So when we get these rapidly developing systems with Jetstream dynamics, things could get really crazy with the temperatures. All right. So of course, over the next, say, 2 to 4 days, not a problem. Temperatures are going to feel lovely out there for climatology standards, right? We're not going to see below average temperatures. So if you're complaining about it being cold now, just wait for a couple more days. Temperatures will moderate a little bit. And by the time we go into, say, Sunday, temperatures will feel a lot more comfortable, I would say, for people that live in, still, it's going to be cold, but you got to understand, above average temperatures. So for Wisconsin, Minnesota, for even the Northeast and the Great Lakes, definitely more bearable. You know, it's not going to be 0 degrees or -5 degrees anywhere at all. Not one spot in the U.S. here we have temperatures in the negative territory on Sunday. All right, but what's going to end up happening is, and I'll show you the jet stream here in a second, in a little bit, you'll see this colder air coming in out of the north, and see it up here, these negative temperatures. Cold air stays there until Tuesday, but once we get into Wednesday and even into Thursday next week, we're going to get that cold front that is going to race to the east into the south, and followed behind that is going to be this much colder air. And I'm talking temperatures up here in, say, Manitoba and Saskatchewan, Canada, could be as cold as, say, -10, -30 degrees, and maybe even as cold up there near Yellowknife, Canada, could be as cold as -50 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. That is brutal. That is deadly. You do not want to be outside in that for very long, because you can get frostbite very quickly. And so this colder air is going to be lunging southward. In fact, by Friday morning next week, if the GFS pans out the way it is, many areas in the Dakotas, Minnesota, even in, say, Iowa, northeastern Nebraska, as well as Montana, could have temperatures 0 degrees and lower. Some areas here, -20 degrees. So, yeah, something that we are going to need to now start watching, because on the previous model run, it showed the same thing. The run before that, it showed lesser cold air, and the run before that, even a little lesser. So there has been this trend towards a more bigger Arctic air mass. And we will have to wait and see if these trends can continue. Because if this does, you know what that means. A big Arctic air mass is going to be racing southward. And it's going to get as far south here on the GFS. Wants it into northern Florida, even central Florida. And I mean, look at this. Even in Tennessee, Indiana could really feel a bite to those temperatures. And then it looks like temperatures will moderate after that. But wow, really, really cold here. Now, one quick thing I wanted to see is on the European model. Let's go to the 12Z, because you are probably curious about that. It's also showing something pretty similar too for Thursday next week. And then on Friday shows something quite similar with the GFS model, only it's a little bit weaker on the colder temperatures. But then look at this. In portions of West Virginia and the Northeast, much colder temperatures there on that run. Okay, temperature anomalies really quick. I wanted to show you this. Orange and red colors, temperatures above average. Blue and green colors, temperatures below average. Simple way to put it, right? And so you can see in the Midwest, temperatures will be above average through Monday and through Tuesday next week. Not really worried about any big Arctic air masses. Even so, temperatures may drop behind the cold front. It's not going to be the crazy cold that you just witnessed up there in Indiana and the Great Lakes and the Northern Plains. Now by Wednesday and Thursday, there will be a cold front that will bring notable cooling, perhaps, and you can see it here from above average temperatures to below average. And I'm telling you, some of these temperatures here in portions of the Midwest could be anywhere between 15 to 20 degrees below average. Some isolated areas like the valleys where the cold air gets trapped because of the shallower sun angle, temperatures could be anywhere between 20 to almost 30 degrees below average. So yeah, you're definitely going to need to be aware of this, because as we get closer, if this stays consistent, you're going to want to get the heavy jackets out again by the middle to the end of next week, okay? So now, why is the cold air and the snow going to be an issue for the eastern half of the U.S. and the Northeast, and even for portions of the Great Lakes again for the middle of next week? Well, when we take a look here at the GFS, this is a little different plot. I don't rarely use in my videos, but this is the vorticity plot. So we're looking for upper level energy, positive vorticity advection, and simple way, vorticity means spin in the atmosphere, so you can kind of think of it. So these colors do indicate there's a lot of jet stream energy, there's a lot of baroclinic energy for pressure falls in the right front quadrant. And so when we go forward in time, you can see where this trough actually is. You can kind of make it out here with the Vortmax plot showing us that there is a sharpening here, and there's some dynamics that get involved because of that. That's why we have our system that may be pretty intense by the end of next week. Pretty dynamic situation. This could become more negatively tilted. We have a baroclinic leaf-like look here to the flow across the warm sector, across the eastern seaboard. So this would allow a lot of pressure or significant pressure falls, strong winds at the surface as well. And that's what we have. See, these winds across the Northeast could be pretty strong because of that, because of the upper level energy that is associated with this trough, and that continues to propagate, and then maybe another one later thereafter. The GFS here showing us the upper level wind pattern too. You can see all that jet stream energy. That is why we could have a big storm on our hands, maybe a couple of them beyond the middle of next week. So make sure you stay tuned here on the channel. But anyways, if you found this video really helpful, detailed, and informative, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the like button if you did enjoy the video, and leave a comment in the section below this video. Let me know what your thoughts are about this video, what you want me to do to improve my production, or what you want me to do to add in something to the video that I missed in today's production. So please let me know in the comment section below this video. It really does help out a lot. But anyways, make Thursday a great day here on December the 12th, 2024. I will talk to you guys again soon.